In the densely populated apartment blocks of Tokyo, behind countless closed doors, an estimated 1 million Japanese citizens are living in extreme isolation. They are known as Hikikomori, individuals who have completely withdrawn from society, often confining themselves to a single room for months, years, or even decades. Imagine spending 10 years without stepping outside your bedroom. No school, no job, no friends. Your only connection to the outside world might be through the internet, and your only human contact through a parent who silently leaves meals at your door. This is the reality for many Hikikomori in Japan today. The term Hikikomori was coined in the 1990s by Japanese psychiatrist Tamaki Sato, who noticed an alarming pattern of youth social withdrawal that couldn't be fully explained by conventional psychiatric diagnoses. While the condition often overlaps with depression, anxiety, and sometimes autism spectrum disorder, it's best understood as a psychosocial phenomenon, shaped as much by Japanese culture and family dynamics as by individual mental health challenges. But to understand why Hikikomori exists at all, we need to look at Japan's unique post-war history. Following World War II, Japan underwent a remarkable economic transformation. The country rebuilt itself into a global economic powerhouse, with a social contract that was clear: work hard in school, secure a position at a respected company, and you'd be rewarded with lifetime employment and social status. This system created one of the most productive workforces in the world and fueled Japan's economic miracle. But beneath the surface, tremendous pressure was building, especially on young men who were expected to uphold these rigid standards of success. Then came the 1990s, and what the Japanese call the lost decade. After the economic bubble burst, the promises of lifetime employment and guaranteed success suddenly evaporated. Companies began mass layoffs. The secure future that many young people had sacrificed their childhood studying for was no longer guaranteed. This economic shock created a profound identity crisis. If your entire worth in society is tied to your academic and professional success, what happens when those pathways close? For some, the answer was complete withdrawal. The profile of a typical Hikikomori is a young man in his late teens to early 30s, though we are now seeing this age range expand dramatically. The isolation often begins with a triggering event, perhaps bullying at school, failing a critical exam, or losing a job. What starts as temporary avoidance gradually hardens into a lifestyle of complete social isolation. The statistics are staggering. Government surveys estimate over 1 million Hikikomori in Japan, though the actual number is likely much higher due to underreporting. About 80% are male, highlighting how this phenomenon is deeply connected to masculine identity and the pressures placed specifically on Japanese men. Let's look at some of the most extreme cases, which reveal the shocking extent of this social withdrawal. In a quiet neighbourhood in Saitama Prefecture, there's a man who hasn't left his bedroom for over 20 years. Now in his 40s, he retreated from society after failing his university entrance exams. His elderly mother still brings meals to his door 3 times a day. They haven't spoken face to face in over a decade. Another case involves a man who lived in complete isolation for 14 years after being bullied at his workplace. When social workers finally made contact, they discovered he hadn't spoken to another human being in so long that he had partially lost the ability to verbalise his thoughts. These extreme cases have given rise to what is now called the 80-50 problem in Japan. Households where a Hikikomori in their 50s is being cared for by parents in their 80s. When these elderly caregivers die, what happens to their socially withdrawn children who have no income, no pension, no healthcare, and potentially no life skills? The family dynamics that enable Hikikomori are deeply rooted in Japanese culture. Many parents, out of a mixture of love, shame, and confusion, become enablers of their child's isolation. They quietly leave food at the bedroom door, avoid confrontation, and shield their child from external pressures, hoping the phase will pass. In a society where family matters are kept private and mental health stigma runs deep, seeking help often feels impossible. Parents may fear judgment from neighbours or relatives, leading to what psychologists call a mutual dependency trap. The Hikikomori relies on the parent for survival, while the parent's identity becomes tied to caring for their withdrawn child, even if it ultimately reinforces the isolation. But is Hikikomori unique to Japan? Not entirely. Similar patterns of extreme social withdrawal are emerging worldwide, suggesting this may be part of a broader response to modern pressures. In South Korea, they call it hidden youth syndrome, with many young people avoiding public life in response to intense academic and professional expectations that mirror Japan's. China has reported growing numbers of lying flat youth, a rejection of hustle culture where young people choose minimalist, withdrawn lifestyles rather than participating in the grueling 996 work schedule of 9 AM to 9 PM, 6 days per week. In Western countries, we see related phenomena: failure to launch syndrome, NEET status, which stands for not in education, employment or training, and even incel culture share emotional terrain with Hikikomori, though they often manifest with different political or gendered expressions. What connects these global patterns? They all represent responses to an increasingly competitive, isolating modern world where traditional pathways to adulthood and success are narrowing or disappearing entirely. This brings us to a critical question. Is Hikikomori a rejection of modern capitalism itself? Many sociologists argue that it represents a form of passive rebellion against a system that demands constant productivity, competition, and performance. In traditional Japan, people lived in tight-knit communities with clearer roles and identities. Modern Japan, like much of the developed world, has replaced these structures with individualized, market-driven definitions of success. Young people are expected to excel academically, secure prestigious employment, uphold family honour, and perpetuate economic growth, all while navigating the alienation of urban life and digital culture. For men especially, this pressure is compounded by lingering traditional expectations. They're still expected to be providers and heads of households in a society where stable employment is increasingly scarce and traditional male advantages in the workplace are eroding. Hikikomori can thus be seen as a silent protest, a complete refusal to participate in a system that feels rigged, exhausting, or meaningless. It's what happens when the only acceptable options are spectacular success or total withdrawal. The digital age has transformed the Hikikomori experience in complex ways. The internet, video games, and virtual worlds allow withdrawn individuals to meet some of their needs: entertainment, communication, and identity building without leaving home. Online forums, games, and social media become surrogate worlds where Hikikomori can create alternate identities and communities. In these spaces, they can escape the judgments and expectations of physical society. However, technology is a double-edged sword. While it provides escape, it can also deepen isolation. Many Hikikomori develop unhealthy relationships with technology, leading to disrupted sleep patterns, further detachment from reality, and reinforced avoidance behaviours. Yet, technology also offers potential solutions. Online therapy, support forums, remote work opportunities, and social games can potentially help ease people back into interaction on their own terms. There's even discussion about whether AI companions and robotics could serve as stepping stones for re-socialization. In recent years, Japan has begun to respond more systematically to the Hikikomori crisis. Local governments and the Ministry of Health have launched support centres, outreach programmes, and hotlines specifically for Hikikomori and their families. One innovative approach involves rental sisters or rental brothers, empathetic visitors who make home visits to Hikikomori, slowly building trust and encouraging re-engagement with the outside world. These programs recognise that recovery from extreme isolation requires patience, often taking years of gradual steps. Media portrayals of Hikikomori have also evolved, where early coverage often depicted them as threats or burdens. More recent portrayals in anime, manga, and film offer nuanced, compassionate perspectives. Works like Welcome to the NHK explore the inner turmoil of socially withdrawn characters and spark more open discussion about mental health. So, what does the future hold for Hikikomori and the societies grappling with extreme social withdrawal? The solution requires more than just psychological intervention. It demands systemic change. This includes more flexible education systems, diverse pathways to adulthood, affordable housing, destigmatised mental health care, and a culture that allows people to fail, reset, and return without shame. Ultimately, Hikikomori forces us to question our definitions of success, productivity, and belonging in the modern world. Is a society healthy if it produces such extreme alienation? What alternatives can we create that allow for more humane ways of living and connecting? As Japan grapples with its hidden population, other countries would be wise to take note. The pressures that create Hikikomori, academic stress, economic precarity, rigid social expectations, digital escapism, are increasingly global. The word may be Japanese, but the phenomenon speaks to universal human need for purpose, connection, and dignity in an increasingly uncertain world. Behind each closed door, behind each statistic, is a human being with dreams, fears, and untapped potential. Understanding Hikikomori means confronting uncomfortable truths about our societies and the invisible suffering happening all around us. Perhaps by reaching out to those who have withdrawn completely, we might discover what's truly essential for human flourishing in the modern age, and build communities where fewer people feel the need to disappear in the first place.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the history of minds.